Okay, here we go with part 2 of the video. We left off here where the answer to number 4 was this, negative 12x plus 20. The next one I want you to do, oh, I haven't indicated it here, have I? It is number 11, isn't it? 5a squared plus 3a minus 7 times negative 2a squared. Well, again, you're distributing, but this time you're distributing from the right instead of the left. Just looking back here, in this case, you were distributing the negative 4 to the things inside of the parentheses on the right. This time you're distributing the negative 2a squared to the things inside the parentheses on the left. And the reason you're doing it is because you're going from the smaller amount, the smaller number of terms, to the larger number of terms. So negative 2a squared times each of those pieces. Well, the one in black here, as I indicate, is 5a squared times that negative 2a squared. And then in green, it's 3a times the same negative 2a squared. And lastly, in red, negative 7 times the negative 2a squared. Each of them is multiplied times negative 2a squared. Well, when I do this, I recommend, remember, any string of numbers and letters like the ones you have in black here, as long as there's no addition or subtraction separating them, as long as it's all multiplication, you can reorganize the numbers in any order you want. That's that commutative property that we talked about earlier in the year. So I can multiply, well, I can put the 5 next to the negative 2 if I want. In fact, I'm going to put the negative 2 out front. I want to remember it's not 5 minus 2. It's 5 times negative 2. So I'm going to put the negative 2 out in front, and it's going to end up being negative 2 times 5 times a squared times a squared. Similarly here with the green, I'm going to put the negative 2 out front. I've got negative 2 times 3 times that a, which is here, times that a squared, which is here. And lastly, well, this time it doesn't really matter because they're both negatives. Which one I put out front? I've chosen to put negative 7 out front. It's negative 7 times negative 2, and there's only one term with a in it, and there's that a times a squared. Okay, so negative 2 times 5, that's negative 10. A squared times a squared, going back to the lessons we learned about exponents, I'm going to add those 2's, and I'm going to end up with a to the 4th. Negative 2 times 3, negative 6. A times a squared, add the exponents, I get a cubed, or a to the 3rd. Negative 7 times negative 2 becomes positive 14. And I've got the a squared. This is my answer right here. Negative 10a to the 4th minus 6a to the 3rd plus 14a squared. That's my answer to number 11. Let's move on. The FOIL pattern. We've talked about this over the past couple of weeks, a couple of times now. First example I'm going to do is number 18. W plus 5 times W plus 2. Well, let's remember first what the FOIL pattern stands for. Stands for first, outer, inner, last. And I've drawn the red for the firsts. The first term of the left binomial and the first term of the right binomial. Then the outers are W and 2 in black, and so on. So let's write this out as actual letters and numbers. The firsts, W times W. It's that W times that W. The outers, W times 2, came from the fact that I was doing the outer ones, W times 2. Green was next, 5 times W for the inners became 5 times W here, and the last terms for both binomials, 5 times 2 in purple, 5 times 2. All right, well, let's just go ahead and do the work. W times W, that's W squared. W times 2, that's usually written as 2W. Normally we put the number in front of the letter. 5 times W, already it's in that order that time. And 5 times 2 makes 10. There's one more step to go. I've told you that the middle two terms, expect to be able to add those up. So I'm going to end up with the same W squared here, but I combine these two, the 2W and the 5W, to make 7W. And I finish off with plus 10. So my answer is W squared plus 7W plus 10. And that's my answer to number 18. We'll do one more. We'll do number 23. I didn't write the whole set of arcs and rainbows this time. Instead, I've just jumped right to firsts. 5n times 4n. That's that 5n times that 4n. The outers are going to be 5n times negative 2, and there they are, 5n times negative 2. Inners are 3 times 4n from these, and so on. Well, let's go ahead and do the work. 5n times 4n. That's 20n squared. If you need the step in between, no problem doing it. You would put the 5 next to the 4, next to the n, next to the n. And the 5 next to the 4 will make you see that that's 20. N next to n will make you see that's n squared. 5n times negative 2 becomes negative 10n. 3 times 4n becomes positive 12n. And 3 times negative 2 becomes negative 6. Last step. Expect to add the two middle terms, negative 10 and positive 12. You get positive 2. So my final answer for number 23 is 20n squared plus 2n minus 6. Again, pause this video or any of these videos wherever you need to stop and work something through for yourself. You can always hit rewind as well. I'm going to move on. We jump ahead to chapter 10.5, and the first set of questions all go together. And I want you to do all of these actually, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I want you to match these trinomials with these factors. So first of all, what I notice is these first two trinomials end in plus 6. The others end in minus 6. So they have this in common, the plus 6. Well, how can you end up with plus 6 at the end? Well, if I'd been working from FOIL, this number always comes from last times last. Let's go back and look at that. This number here, 10, came from 5 times 2. Okay? So this number here, 6, came from last times last. It either came from 3 times 2 or from negative 3 times negative 2. Either way could have got me positive 6. So I know that A and D are going to match 3 and 4. I just don't know which goes with which. I've got to do one more step. I notice the difference between these two is this one's negative and that one's positive here for the middle terms. So how did I end up with a positive 5 for this one? I got it from doing positives here, plus 2x for the outers and plus 3x for the inners. Outer and inner make that middle term. So that's number 4. Number 4 gives me positives. Number 3, negative 3 plus negative 2 gives me negative 5. That's why number 3 matches up with D. All right, well that leaves me with 5 and 6, but which one of them goes with B and which with C? Well, let's look at the difference between 5 and 6. The middle term is negative for 5 and it's positive for 6, and that's the only difference between these two. Well, that's going to lead me to the same sort of work that just helped me separate 3 and 4. I've got a positive here for number 6, so it has to be larger on the positive side than the negative side, and notice that plus 3x is bigger than minus 2x. So this one, C, is going to go with 6. And that means that leaves B to go with 5. And that makes sense because negative 3x is larger than positive 2x, so I'm going to end up with a negative 1x here in the middle. And that's how I match them up. Let's actually do some factoring though. Let's start with number 7. Oops, I meant to cover that up. Excuse me. The problem was x squared plus 6x plus 8. And let's remind ourselves how you factor. What you're looking for is the numbers that multiply to make 8, but also add to make 6. So let's make a list of the pairs of numbers that do multiply to make 8. You could do 1 times 8. You could do 2 times 4. 3 does not go into 8, and now the door is closed because if I try anything higher than 3, well, I've already tried 4. So it either can be 1 and 8 or 2 and 4, or, well, that's not really the end of it, right? Because besides 1 and 8, it could have been negative 1 and negative 8. Those will also multiply to make positive 8. Likewise, not only 2 and 4, but also negative 2 and negative 4 would have multiplied to make positive 8. So it could be any of these 4 pairs. that one, or that one, or that one, or that one, but which of those four pairs adds to make positive 6? And I meant to cover that up too. My bad. There. It's 2 and 4, that pair. 2 and 4 that multiply to make 8 and add together to make 6. Well, that means that my answer is x plus 2, because it's a positive 2, x plus 4, because that's a positive 4. Remember, what I was asked to do was factor, so I'm done with this answer. In a few minutes, I'm going to go over a question where you've got to solve. Actually, it looks like I'm going to have to do this on a separate video. On the next video, I'm going to have to solve, and there I won't finish at this stage. I'll go a little bit farther. But for now, this is my answer to number 7. All right, I'm going to stop this video, and I'm going to have to make a third one.